Hello, friends. Today I am looking at the cost analysis from the Meat Chicken Project. I've been very anxious to sit down and actually go through this. I just hadn't had time yet. So I'm finally making time today. I'm going to crunch some numbers, see where we're at. I'm also going to look at the startup cost as well, even though I don't always count that in because I know I'm going to be doing this for a long time, so the startup cost will eventually pay for itself. But for those of you that are interested in what it would cost to get started, I will also do that. Let's get started. So getting started here, I did not keep the receipt from every bag of feed that I had. I just wrote down whenever I got feed because the feed is the same price. So I will go ahead and figure out how much feed I had in them. Okay, so looking here from Tractor Supply is where I got my feed because that was what was locally here. And the feed was $21.99 a bag. That is before tax. Because we do have a farm, we are tax exempt for certain items, and feed is one of those. So for me, it was $21.99 a bag, and I went through exactly 10 bags. So that makes easy math, obviously. So that was $219.90. So let's just say that's $220 in feed. Now, one thing I will say I found partway through my Meat Chicken project, there is a cheaper place to buy in Ohio. For me, it's about a 2 hour drive, but we deliver horses, or we always have like a farm trip out towards Ohio. So when I do meat chickens again, and notice I said when, not if, so I am planning to do this again, but when I do this again, I am planning to buy my feed out in Ohio. I do like to support local business, do not get me wrong, but sometimes you do have to price shop, and unfortunately, we're just living in those times. Um, so the place out in Ohio, they sell it for 9.29 a bag. So that is a little less than half the price of what I spent on feed here. So obviously, as you can see, if I go through 10 bags, that would be $92.90. So just say $93. So you can see right there, I will be able to save $117 on feed. So this time I spent $220. If I go with the feed that I found in Ohio, I will spend $93. So that cuts my feed cost in more than in half. So when I do projects like this, I like to get the total amount that I spent and then try to see where I could squeeze and save a little extra. Especially when you're doing a project like this, I want to try to keep the cost per bird as low as possible to try to at least be, I'd like to ideally be cheaper than the chicken you can buy at the store, but even if it's the same cost, in my book, that's still a win because I'm eating meat that I know what it ate and I know what I put into it, and it's just healthier. So I am willing to spend a little bit more to have my own. The other thing I will say about cost is when you're feeding out meat chickens or even beef cattle in this instance, your cost is spread out over, several weeks to even months. So it's not like you have to have this money right now today. You buy the feed slowly over the course of a period of time. So it's not really that big of a deal if it is a little bit more than in the store because the cost is so spread out that it's not a big deal to throw a little extra at it each month. The cost of the Peeps, whenever I bought them, they were $3, exactly $3 a piece. And again, we are tax exempt on certain items, including livestock that you buy through Tractor Supply or Rural King. I did get my Peeps from Rural King, and they were $3 a piece, and I got 20. So that was $60 as my part of my startup. That was just to buy the Peeps. So that's all that I had invested into my project, was buying the chickens and buying the feed. Our water, we have spring water here, so I don't consider, like, we don't even have a water bill because of that, so I don't consider water. I did use some bedding hay to keep them clean, but we make our own hay, and I honestly probably only used one square bale, so that was a very minimal cost, if anything. So all in all, this time around, I spent $280. That was to buy the Peeps and to buy the feed. But next time I do it, I will only spend $153, and that's a rough estimate, 153, because of saving from the feed. So that is well over, that's like $130 that I will save. I could almost do double, like that is saving me half of what I did this year. So truly and honestly, I'm definitely going to be going to Ohio to get the feed because that's going to save me a lot. So, dividing this out now, I'm curious to see how much I had per bird. Wow. So, listen to this. If you skipped to any part of the video, please listen to this part right here. This is real dollar values. So, the way I did it this year, which is buying the feed from Tractor Supply, the feed that is more expensive, I broke it down. So we did $280. That was all in. That was buying the Peeps and buying the more expensive feed. And then dividing that into 20 birds, that was $14 per bird. And then my birds, they dressed out a little too heavy. So when I am going to do this again, I'm going to butcher them about 2 weeks sooner because they were borderline turkey size. So I'm going to do them a little sooner next time around, which will save you on feed. You know, less time is less time that they're eating. Um, so $14 per bird divided by 10 pounds. So they dressed out at 10 pounds. Some were even pushing 12, but the average was 10 pounds. So that would be $1.40 per pound for home raised chicken. If I do it next time with the cheaper feed, I would have had $7.65 per bird, and dividing that by 10 pounds gives me 77 cents per pound for fresh farm raised chicken. In case you're wondering, like I was, I went ahead and looked up on Walmart. Walmart for a whole chicken from Purdue, it is $1.46 per pound. So $1.46 per pound from Walmart, $1.40 per pound that I did this year. And in the future, whenever I get the cheaper feed, it will be 77 cents per pound. So even this year, buying the more expensive feed, I still am a little cheaper than you can buy at Walmart. And I know what the chicken ate. And then when I do chickens again, I will actually be half the price of Walmart. So as you can see, it really is beneficial if you look at what you have in your project currently and what it finished out at, and then go back and look through and say, where can I try to save? And one of those is feed. So if you can try to source your feed and find it cheap as you can, but also you want to be careful with that. You don't want to be feeding them garbage. Otherwise, you may as well just go to Walmart and get that chicken. So the feed in Ohio is actually better than what I get at Tractor Supply. It's not processed, it's fresh grains from the field, and it still has that 16% protein. You want to watch the protein that you're giving your meat chickens. Um, but yeah, that is an extremely good price. So I am not only saving money, I am also saving my health. I'm knowing what I'm eating. And all in all, I am definitely doing more meat chickens. This was a money saver. It was a fun project and it's a short project. So if you can just buckle down and take care of them for 6 to 8 weeks, then you have fresh, cheap chicken on your dinner table for your family. The other thing I'm interested to look at is I want to try to shop around and find peeps even cheaper. $3 is enough to spend per peep. So I'm anxious to see if I can maybe call around to some hatcheries and see what pricing is. Now, for those of you that are curious on a startup cost, I just did some rough numbers here. Of course, I did not have this startup cost at all because I had everything. I've raised chickens for years. Actually, since I was 9 years old, I've had chickens. So I did not have any startup cost at all. But for those of you that are interested, that are starting from nothing, so you will need a coop, something to put your chickens in. I put down for that roughly $1,000. If you're looking at doing like 20 meat chickens, like I did, you're looking at roughly $1,000. Now, you could save here. I do know people that use dog kennels. Those are a lot cheaper and those work just as well. So you could do a dog kennel if you wanted to save money in that area. But roughly for a wooden structure with a roof, a decent coop, you're going to have around $1,000. And then for a feeder, about 40 bucks, like a nice tall feeder. And then a water, I do spend a little extra on my waters. I get the electric waters. That way I can plug them in the winter time and nothing is frozen or the plastic doesn't break. So the waters are $50. And then bedding materials, you probably would have around $10. I'm not really sure what bedding materials cost because we usually have some old hay or some straw around, so I don't really know what bedding costs nowadays, but I'm gonna say around $10. And then to buy your 20 peeps, your little chicks, you're gonna have $60 in those. And then feed, you're going to have about $200 if you're going with the Tractor Supply feed, or if you're able to source it somewhere else like I found, I would have around $100, so I would save a little bit there. So all in all, in a startup cost, you're looking at roughly $1,300 to $1,400 if you're getting that nicer coop. Like I said, I know people that just use a dog kennel because a lot of people have empty dog kennels sitting around. So those work just as well. So, in conclusion, here, the Meat Chicken Project was a great success. I enjoyed every minute of it. Everything went pretty smooth for the most part. Even the butchering, we did really well. You would think that we've been butchering all our life. So if I can do this, you can do this, and I truly mean that. This is just a super short project. It's about 6 to 7 weeks project, and The startup cost is not bad. You can honestly just use what you already have on hand and makeshift something for 6 to 7 weeks. And the cost of the feed and the peeps is really not bad. And then totaling clear at the end of the project, we are currently this year using the more expensive feed. I was still cheaper than chicken that you could get at Walmart. So I'm really anxious to do more meat chickens and actually come in at half the price of the chicken that you buy at Walmart. I love knowing where my food comes from, what my food is eating, and I just love living that healthy, natural lifestyle. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I encourage you to try to do meat chickens as well. Please leave your comments below. I would love to know how it works out for you. If you have any tips or tricks for me to try, because I am fairly new to this as well. So I'm just anxious to get more people interested in a healthier, natural lifestyle. Thanks for watching.